Let's get into the Wednesday rankle. We got Sky News host Danica Giorgio on the desk here with me and in Melbourne. We've got columnist Justin Smith, broadcaster, author, and mate, bloody good job you got the email today telling you what time to turn up, because there's a lot of emails going missing these days.
Ooh. Well, you will find a lot of people in this world that don't actually read emails anymore. I'm not sure if you've come across those kind of people, but this is just terrifyingly awful. And it is one of those, that 000 thing, it is one of those things that you need to be able to rely on. You know, you need to be able to rely on putting fuel in the car and you know, the sun coming up in the morning, and to be able to rely on 000 is so important. And that has just been shaken.
Absolutely.
Thanks to, or no thanks to, Optus.
Yeah, no one's got any confidence in it anymore. Danica, Optus, just to backfill here, they revealed that their email to the Communications Department went to the wrong address, but there were other emails that went to the Minister's office and to the ACMA authority. But also, when it's something as important as a 000 outage, don't you send an email, ask to make sure they acknowledge receipt? Don't you follow up with a phone call? Don't you shake everyone and make sure they know about it?
Absolutely. You would have expected, Chris, that there would have been a phone call actually in the very first instance, given the significance of what has occurred here. To be honest, I can't believe that more than 2 weeks after this has occurred, heads have not rolled yet. Now there's confusion over the timeline of events as well. You've got the minister in charge, Annika Wells, who I think has been an absolute disgrace on this matter from the very beginning. Last week she said, I'm a new minister, as if that was her excuse. Today we still don't know what level of correspondence she had. She's been swanning about, as we know, at the United Nations in New York. There is a litany of failures, and the bottom of this is that people have actually died. People have died in the process, and there needs to be answers.
People in desperate need rang 000 for help, didn't get it, and died, and yet the government just wipes its hands, as Danica says, oh, sorry, I was a new minister. Here's the Shadow Communications Minister today.
It's a disgrace. You've got the department being advised, you've got ACMA, the regulator, being advised, and you've got the minister's office being advised, yet nobody could open an email and action it.
It is just extraordinary, Justin. The other point that Danica mentioned, and I think this really rubs salt into the wound for all Australians, this crisis had been revealed. This problem was in the mix when Annika Wells still jumped on a plane and flew first class to New York to be at the United Nations when we had like 3 other ministers there anyway. It's outrageous.
Yeah, I don't think the minister should have left the country, to be frank. But it is not just politics here. It's the entire system that has been set up. I mean, because it's not a shock what has happened with Optus, because it's happened before. The whole system that's in place from these bloody companies that make a fortune. I mean, anyone who pays their phone bills know that you are paying top dollar in the world to have mobile phone coverage in this country. You pay top dollar, these executives make a fortune. The entire system is set up for money making. It is not geared for safety, as we've now seen, and that's where we've got to make the biggest change. I don't even really know, to be honest, what the role of a minister would be in something like this. But yeah, heading off overseas, not a good look.
No.
Look, there's another area where the government is trying to tell us that it knows nothing and does nothing, and that's with the return of these ISIS brides and their children. Here's Penny Wong being grilled in Senate estimates.
Is the Prime Minister aware of how many ISIS brides are now in Australia?
Well, I will take that on notice.
You are here representing the Prime Minister, and my question was squarely in relation to, does the Prime Minister himself know how many ISIS brides are now in Australia?
Oh, well, I'll take that. I think I've taken that question on notice, Chair.
Danica, they don't want us to know anything.
No, they don't want us to know anything. So we've got a situation where the Foreign Minister doesn't know anything. Tony Burke, in the first instance, denied the reports that were reported firstly in The Australian. The Prime Minister then denied the reports, and suddenly a week later, the ISIS brides have arrived. I find it very, very difficult to believe that Labor knew nothing about these women coming back into this country. Now, let it be known that as soon as they left the country, Chris, They revoked their citizenship. They betrayed our values to join the jihadi death cult on some jihadi romance. Clearly, it hasn't gone as well as they had thought. They've tried to come back. No, you're not Australian. And you know what I found most breathtaking today? Matt Thistlethwaite, who's the Assistant Foreign Minister, he went on ABC and he said a lot of these people would be Australian citizens. They have a right to return to Australia. No, they don't. They are not Australian citizens. They betrayed our values. Labor has a lot of questions to answer right now, Chris, and I think it's an absolute disgrace.
But they are citizens.
It's extraordinary.
No, they're not. But Justin, they betrayed our country from the moment they left this country. That doesn't make them automatically allowed to come back. They've gone overseas.
Yeah, but hang on a sec. Don't put ideas into my mouth here. They're Australian citizens. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be answerable for what they've done. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be facing the law. But you can't just turn around and say somebody isn't an Australian citizen when they are. But just on what was happening in the Senate Estimates Committee today, I think they should be answering to it. Absolutely,
of course
the government should be giving. We shouldn't know that. You know, as you know, I despise secrecy. I think they should be telling us.
The point is, of course, they do have Australian citizenship, and that's the problem. But there were special laws passed to see that these people could be blocked from re-entry if they'd been, in fact, aligned with groups opposed to Australia, i.e. ISIS. So the government instead has just sat back and, well, actually it's done more than nothing. It's actually facilitated their return. So it's got to be open and upfront with people about it. We are just about out of time. In fact, we're completely out of time. We've got to talk about gold digging and all the rest.
No. What a shame. I was excited about the gold digging.
We're all in favour of it, as long as we're doing the digging, not handing out the gold. Thanks for joining us, Danica.
If it wasn't for what you paid me, I wouldn't have any women. I mean,
We'll catch you next time for next Wednesday